Hello and welcome to Build Series. I'm Laura Muraski with HuffPost. Violinist Lindsey Stirling rose to fame on YouTube and as a finalist on season 5 of America's Got Talent. She's gone on to tour the world and release several albums. She's currently on a holiday tour and is also out with Warmer Winter, the Deluxe Edition. Take a look. Please welcome Lindsey Stirling.
Guys, thanks for having me.
Oh, Lindsey, thanks for coming back to Build. We're so excited to be talking to you. Around the holidays, you have your holiday deluxe album out, and we just saw the great video for Warmer in the Winter, which I understand that you really had a hand in the creative process of.
Yes, I actually kind of imagined up this video like over a year before we shot it when I was on a plane, I believe in South America, and I even like sketched out the set and how we could go from place to place and I'd always wanted to do a one-take music video, so I was like, I'm ready to do this.
Yeah, so what was that whole process like actually filming this? Because it just looks like a lot of fun, but I'm sure it wasn't super easy to actually do.
Yes, it was really difficult to execute, and I think I had the courage to try a one-take music video actually because of my experience on Dancing with the Stars, where I was like, okay, I had to do these performances, these dance performances, in one moment and make it right. And so I was like, okay, and now I had all this dance training where I felt like I could pull off these different styles of dance. But like all the details, like the part where my dress pulls away and a new dress reveals, oh my gosh, that was almost the death of us. The dress kept getting caught, and so you'd have to start over so that we could redo it and then pray that the dress wouldn't get caught. So it's just all these little details, like the snow coming in at the right time, or so many details you wouldn't even think of until you're on set and it's going wrong.
Yeah, and down to the editing process. I mean, you saw this through from start to finish, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, I'm such a film nerd. I mean, I went to film school, and I've always loved, telling stories through the medium of film. And so that's how I like to do a lot of my videos. Is I concept them, I make storyboards for them, help with the visuals, the costume coloring, and then I even edit them myself.
Amazing. I mean, it's just like at this point, you don't have to edit them yourself, but you still do anyway, which is awesome. It's like, I love seeing that.
And it's funny, a lot of people are like, why don't you get someone else to do that? But for me, it's such a part of, like, I love to edit. I love to do that process. And I'm like, I wouldn't give that to someone else. That's part of the fun for me. And that's, I wouldn't want to give it away.
Okay. Well, last year I think we had you here last year when you released this album from the start, and there's so many great tracks on it.
Thank you.
But now you're releasing it with 5 new tracks. Can you talk a little bit about what those tracks are and what you wanted to say with it?
Yeah, well, it was really funny because when I decided to do the deluxe version of the album, because I did have some songs that I just didn't quite get finished before the original album came out. So with the deluxe, it was these ones that I had started to work on. I knew they had a lot of potential. And they ended up being some of my favorite songs on the album. Like, for example, I Wonder As I Wander is an old Celtic hymn. And I decided to take it and do it in like a really epic, grand way that I've never heard it done like that before. And it's very kind of tribal meets electronic. And it turned into one of my favorite covers I've ever done. Awesome. And so it was really fun to like kind of add to an album that I already was very attached to. And even Santa Baby, I love how that one came out. And I think it only added and made the album better.
Yeah, I mean, this album, I think it was like one of the top-selling albums of last year already, so congratulations on that. And a song like Santa Baby, it's been done so many times. Like, tell me the process of creating your own version of it and what it means for you.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the challenges of the album in general, like Silent Night, Angels We've Heard on High, like All I Want for Christmas Is You. They've all been done thousands of times. And so it is really interesting to think, like, how can I make this true to the original? Everybody wants that at Christmas. They want their classics that they know, but how do you make it new? But I feel like that's one of my strengths as an artist, is being able to like put my sound into different things. And for example, with Santa Baby, we totally changed the chord progressions that were used. And so it automatically, from the moment the song starts, it feels like something new. Until I start singing, you're not expecting that it's Santa Baby.
Right.
And so I think there's so many ways you can reinvent a song, and it's always really fun when you can completely restructure the entire house, but yet it's still the same song.
And now you're performing them live, and you've been on tour. Lindsey's playing the Beacon Theater, so anybody's here in New York. Is anybody going to the show on Wednesday? Oh, yeah. We got basically have, quite a few people in the audience are going to the show on Wednesday playing the Beacon Theater. So how are you translating this from like the recorded version to the live version? Because your live shows are phenomenal between the dancing and everything else. But I'm sure that's a lot of rehearsing as well.
Yes, we put a ton of energy into this show. Basically, we got off a summer tour and then right away started okay, we got a Christmas tour coming. And it's so much fun. Like, this show is like a joy to perform every night, like genuinely, because we're playing all this happy Christmas music. And for example, Warmer in the Winter, the music video we just saw, we do a very similar version of that live. And I actually don't even, like, I sing Santa Baby, I sing some of the other songs, but I don't even sing that one because that one is all about the dancing. And so the show is a really nice balance between, a little bit of singing, lots of violin, and lots of dancing. And it's very theatrical, lots of costume changes, lots of, I think there's a lot of diversity in this show. And that's what I don't think there's a chance for the audience to ever get bored.
Yeah. I don't think I get bored watching one of your shows. That's for sure. So you started off obviously as a violinist, growing up, but you started singing more recently and like throwing that into the mix. Like, how do you decide? Okay, this is a song that I'm going to take on and sing versus like, okay, this is just a straight violin, track.
Sometimes the songs dictate it themselves. Like, I'll go into a song thinking I'm writing an instrumental, and then all of a sudden I'm like, for some reason it needs a little more to fill this one out. And so then, we'll either bring on a singer. And for example, it was really funny for Warmer in the Winter. I was always planning on having somebody else sing it. But when we had other people cut the vocals, I had sung the demo because I, wrote it and I recorded it in the studio as a demo. And then I was like, I don't know. I kind of kept going back to, I actually like the way I sound on it. And I don't pretend to be the best singer in the world, but sometimes, you don't have to be the best singer in the world for it to fit a certain song. And so I ended up keeping my vocals on that one and Santa Baby, same thing. Where I was like, it worked, so I'm going to keep it.
Amazing. Okay, so you mentioned Dancing with the Stars earlier. I mean, it was like around this time last year, I believe you were competing on it.
Yes.
Now having like a year kind of out, how do you look at your experience looking back on it?
Looking back on it, like, it was such an interesting thing to describe because it was one of the most fun things I've ever done. I loved it. I loved learning. It was the first time I'd ever had dance training, like really like that. And also like the costumes, the theatricality, like it was so fun, but it was also the hardest thing I've ever done. Like, I was touring at the same time and I was flying from coast to coast and my partner, even Mark, told me, he's like, I've never been this tired on a season. Like, we worked so hard and we're so exhausted. And so it was this like catch-22 of like one of the hardest things, but one of the funnest things. And I'm so grateful for the experience. Now, anytime I'm busy or stressed or overwhelmed, I'm always like, I can do anything.
Yeah.
I did Dancing with the Stars while touring. Like, I can do anything.
Yeah. And it sounds like you're still channeling some of what you learned into your live show. So, like, how else are you trying to incorporate what you learned from Dancing with the Stars to like what you're doing?
Yes, I mean, a lot of our show was inspired by that because I brought 2 male dancers on tour with us. So not only do we have my girl dancers, but now we have some guys so that I could throw in some ballroom. So there's some waltz in the show. There's a little bit of, we do some jive. I do the number with the guys where it's Warmer in the Winter. And so it allows for some really fun partnering and some lifts and stuff. But I, again, wouldn't have had the courage to try that or do that if I hadn't had that experience and been like, oh my gosh, I can do this. And put the time in so that I could do it.
But I mean, people look at you and they're like, okay, she dances. She does the violin, she dances, but this is a whole different ballgame for you. I mean,
yes. I mean, well, I think when I'm playing and dancing with the violin, it's more like this free-spirited pixie. I've gotten really good at spinning with a violin and being able to like kick my feet really high. But in terms of actual like dance training and steps, like it was so new to me. I'd never actually learned how to properly dance, and especially you took with a violin and I felt like I was naked out there. I was like, what do I do when I don't have a violin to like, express myself with? So it was a whole new ball game. And, but I'm so grateful that I had that experience. It's something I've wanted to do since I was a kid, was learn to dance.
Yeah. I mean, there was a point, I think, in your young life where you were like, your parents were like, okay, you choose dance or a violin. And so what channeled the violin versus the dance at that time?
Well, to be honest, I think it's because I got to take the violin home with me. Yeah. Like, dance, you go and you dance with the other kids, but then you leave. And the violin, I actually got to take it home. And when I realized that when I would play it, I would drive my sister nuts. Yeah. And I was like, oh, wow, this is like a little superpower for a child. I can drive my sister nuts with this. And maybe that's why I chose the violin. I'm not sure.
It's the type of thing where you feel like you're still growing and learning with the violin, and how so? Because it's something that you've been playing for how many years now?
Gosh, I've played for 26 years. which is insane. So I started before like I was like born.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah. We're not really feeling age.
Yeah,
right,
when
at
age
all.
isn't a
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
No, but yeah, I started when I was 6 years old. I've played for 26 years, and but honestly, I do still feel like I'm always learning. I still practice. Like a
Wow.
lot of people are really surprised, but
Yeah.
the violin is something I don't think you can get lazy with. Like you lose it so quickly, and also being able to dance and play. I feel like I'm constantly getting better in my dancing skill, and so in order to keep up with that and be able to reach my potential as a dancer, but still be able to play, it just takes so much practice. So I still practice a lot and challenge myself, I guess, in the combination of the two.
Yeah, I mean, like you were on America's Got Talent. Now it's been like I don't know how many, like 8 years
Gosh,
ago now.
yeah.
It feels like forever ago. And there were so many there were some naysayers on that show, like, oh, you're not gonna be able to do the both, right? And how does it feel now, 8 years later, saying, you know what, I'm doing it. I am making a career out of this, and this is me.
You know what? I think it took me a while to learn this, but I think one of the most important thing about my experience on America's Got Talent that a lot of people don't think about, and it took me years to realize, was that they weren't necessarily wrong. It's easy for people to look at it and be like, oh, they messed up. Like, they sure missed out on you. But looking at the video, like, I wasn't great. And it's not that they were wrong. And I think that's why it hurt so bad when I was on the show and when I got kicked off and when they, said really mean things to me. It hurt so bad because it was kind of true. And I think the truth hurts way more. And they were right. I don't think, earned the right I hadn't developed the skills to be able to dance and be thrown around like up in the air while playing a violin. Like, it's really difficult. And so I spent a lot of time, years, honing this craft so that I could go back out there, could get back on a stage and say, now I'm ready. And it was just a lot of hard work that needed to happen.
Yeah.
And, it was a brand new skill I was trying out on America's Got Talent. And now it's like, yeah, I can be jumping around and playing a violin, but it's because I didn't give up, because I earned the right to now do it.
I love that. And I understand that America's Got Talent called you this year to sort of like come back on the show or something, which is kind of crazy.
Yes.
Because they're doing like an all-star show or something, right?
They're doing an all-star season. I don't know if it's already happened or if it's happening now, but it was really funny because they called me and I was like, oh, what are they, maybe they want me to be a guest performer or something. And I literally, like, my jaw kind of dropped and they were like, we'd love to invite you back onto America's Got Talent. And I was like, thank you. I don't mean to be rude, but I would never come back to compete. I was like, I'm sorry, but I do really well on my own now. Like, I tour the world. Thank you, but like, absolutely not. Like, it was a funny moment for me, but
I mean, I guess it's one of those things where it's like it's been so many years that you
Yeah.
feel like it's just a whole other lifetime ago. That it's
It really does.
It's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Now I understand you're working on a play too. Is that the case?
it is the
so
case.
what's this play, or can you tell us anything about it?
I don't want to give away any details
Okay.
yet, but since I was a child, I've loved theatricality. I used to put on like little plays and write plays for like the kids in my neighborhood to perform to. They're terrible. They're recorded on VHS somewhere, which will not be revealed. But I mean, it's been really fun to kind of dive back into that side of myself, and the fact that I studied film and storytelling in college, and now getting to dive into character development and like, what is the character's motivation? Why do we care? Like all of that stuff as I've started to really write this play. But I'm so excited about it. It's going to be musical.
Okay.
I'm thinking, actually, funny, we're in Christmas mode. Maybe I'll stay in Christmas mode forever because I think it's going to be a Christmas themed play.
That's awesome.
So, but that's all I can reveal at the moment.
Okay.
But I'll be probably coming to New York to work on it a lot next year.
Okay, then we'll have to have you back at Build. That's for
Yes.
sure.
and
Yeah.
I can give you more details.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, New York. I mean, Broadway. Who knows? We'll see.
Yes.
That's very exciting.
That's my plan.
Yeah.
Get it on Broadway someday.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's like when you have that experience, you know how to write, you know how to dance. Like I feel like this, and this can be like your next big thing.
That's the hope.
Yeah. Are you working on any new music?
Yes,
addition
top
to
of
the
the
play.
year.
Okay.
On top of the play, I will be working on a new album because
Okay.
it's funny. It's like, yeah, we've released now, Christmas album and a deluxe Christmas album that I've worked on, but I'm like, it's time for some like fresh new Lindsey Stirling music, like my tracks, my original stuff. And so that's the beginning of the year. I've already started to like dabble in writing a little bit, but hopefully by the summer I'll have, possibly even an EP out.
Any idea of the vision of what we can expect?
You know what? I usually go in pretty blank slate when I start writing. Like I don't have an idea of even sonically like where it's going to go. It's just going into the studio, a lot of trial and error until I'm like this feels right. This is the sound. So,
all right.
we'll
I guess
see.
we'll have to wait and see.
I know. Me too.
Yeah. You'll see what happens when you get into that studio.
Right.
You toured with Evanescence this summer. How the heck was that? We had Amy Lee here not too long ago. Yeah, she was great.
Love her.
Yeah.
So I have been a huge Evanescence fan and a huge Amy Lee fan since I was like 15. And so it was an amazing like dream come true to get to work with her on a song on her album. And then when the opportunity came up, like, well, would you want to tour together? It was like, it was absolutely a dream come true. And it was really fun. Like, Amy's amazing and we had so much fun together on the road. But also I would show this clip of this old music video I made in high school in the show. Yeah. And it was a cool moment to be like, hey, everybody, like no one would have thought that 15-year-old girl would ever amount to really anything artistically because the video is so silly and bad. But also, like, I just shared the stage with my idol, and it was a cool moment to be like, you can be whatever you want to be.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I feel like we talked a little bit of America's Got Talent sort of being the underdog, and now, like, how many years later, and then sort of like looking back on how much you've grown. I mean, in what ways do you think you've grown the most in the last couple of years, would you say?
Wow. You know, I think emotionally I've grown the most. And I think that's the place where we will never stop growing. And the more self-aware you become, the more you realize like, wow, I have a lot to say in how I feel about myself. And I have a lot of, I can help determine where I'm at mentally and emotionally. I don't have to just sit in the passenger seat of my life and let situations or let like, you know, life dictate how I feel about myself. And especially once, you know, social media now starts to like, it can very easily overwhelm your life and determine how you feel about your popularity or your worth. And you know, it's really important to constantly recheck in with myself and see where I'm at. And I've struggled off and on with depression through my life. And I now have this amazing tool belt of resources where I still, I kind of start to go into these things. And I don't have to stay there anymore. Yeah. I know how to honor the feelings, let them exist, and then say, but I'm not going to stay here. Yep. And I know how to get out of it. And I think that that's a powerful thing that everyone has the capability to do. But once upon a time, that wasn't possible. I couldn't make those choices. And through work and, you know, therapy and learning my own tics and my quirks, I now can. And that is empowering and amazing, and I truly believe that's possible for anyone. Yeah,
and do you feel like, I mean, that's a really great message to spread. Do you feel like talking about it so openly, being on a platform that you are, do you get some great feedback from fans and people who like look up to you and say, okay, well, she talked about this openly with depression, et cetera. I can do this too. And what kind of feedback have you heard from your fans?
I mean, absolutely. People open up to me all the time, whether it's through comments online that I see or whether it's like in a, you know, in a meet and greet setting or a letter. But I feel like we all have the opportunity, like everybody has a sphere of influence, whether it's your sister or your best friend or someone who follows you on social media. Yeah. We all have an influence. And the more that I think we're honest with just where we're at. And I found that, like, I used to feel like I had to be this perfect mask, but the more you open up about things and are honest with people, the more people are honest with you. And it gives permission for all of us to say, yeah, sometimes I hurt. Yeah. Sometimes I'm lonely. And sometimes, like, life is really hard. And I don't know, it's so rewarding. And it's like this big breath of fresh air when you finally get to, like, share that with somebody. And it's like, I don't have to like wear this like corset all the time, you know, that literally makes you feel like you're holding yourself in. Like that freedom is liberating. Yeah, and I think it's probably liberating for you and liberating for people to actually listen to someone to say, okay, here's this person, she's being real about how she feels, what's going on, and like her ups and downs and struggles. So sounds like you're in a really great place now. What are your holiday plans? Ooh, well, after holidays. Speaking of, aside from just doing the tour, which we go pretty much right up to Christmas, but then I'm going home for Christmas, and my sisters will all be there, my mom, and we're gonna just have some of our favorite Christmas traditions. I can't wait. Yeah, what are some of those? Like, what do you guys do? A silly one is I love that we do a Christmas craft every year, and we get super into it. We started doing it for my like nieces and nephews. We're like, oh, this will be fun for the kids. Yeah. But the adults get like super into it, and then we'll take our crafts to the neighbor family, and they don't know whose is whose, but we have them pick a winner. Oh. But we get like really into like making the best snowman made out of socks or whatever the craft is that year. And it's, I don't know, I love being crafty, so it's my favorite. I love it. Okay, well, we have some questions from the crowd here, so let's get to it. Who's first? Right here.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Georgie, and I had the privilege of seeing you with Evanescence in Florida this summer.
Oh, awesome.
And sadly, I couldn't afford a ticket for tomorrow, but I hope it's amazing.
Thank you.
And I'll see you later at Barnes & Noble's also.
Oh, sweet.
Yes. And I just wanted to know, how long have you been doing point dance?
Point dance. That was actually, so I did some point ballet in my Santa Baby music video, and my roommate is a professional ballerina. And so I told her this idea, and I was like, I want you to be in my music video for Santa Baby. And she's like, girl, I'm not just going to be in your video. I'm going to teach you some point. So we went and picked up some point shoes, and she worked with me for 2 weeks. And that was the extent of it. My toes were bleeding. I mean, I get it. Are you a dancer? You're a point dancer? I mean, I definitely was not perfect. Like, I know my turnout was not, I was like, dang it. But, it took a lot of work, and I just have so much respect for all types of dance, and point is no joke.
Wow. Okay. Always learning.
Always.
All right. Who's next?
Hi, Lindsay.
Hi.
My name is Danielle. I can't wait to see you tomorrow. And
Awesome.
so how did Felba come into existence?
Felba. Oh my gosh, Felba. I love playing the Felba character. I feel like sometimes she is like the true version of myself, is Felba. So Felba is my #1 fan that is played by myself. And I actually invented Felba because when I first started doing social media and promoting myself, like being like, I'm constantly having to tell people, like, buy tickets for this, like, buy my album, support me here, watch this video. And so I thought, oh, how fun it would be if I didn't have to do it all the time. What if I invented someone else that could talk about it and not take it too seriously? And so Felba is this dorky, over-the-top, like, #1 fan that's just, you can't help but love her because she's so awkward. And like I said, my true version of myself. But yeah, that's why I invented her, so that she could promote me and I wouldn't have to always do it. Yeah.
But you're kind of still doing it yourself.
But I mean, I'm really doing it myself. Yeah. And it's funny, I actually have to like really hype myself up before I do any Felba stuff, because she goes out in front of she was at Target the other day promoting the album, and I was literally throwing it in people's carts with money taped to it. Like, talk about creating very awkward situations that I know are going to be really embarrassing. It always turns out so funny, so I'm always like, you can do this, Lindsay, you can do this. But anyways, it always turns out really fun.
Amazing. I think we have time for one more question. Right here.
Hi, my name's Shaylin, and my question is, what was your favorite song to record on the album?
Favorite song to record? Ooh. Oh, these songs were all so different. There's everything from like big band style music to electronic to, whimsical and magical. But I think Carol of the Bells has always been one of my favorite Christmas songs, probably just because I'm a little instrumentalist at heart, and that song rocks as an instrumental. And so I think that was probably my favorite one.
Awesome. Well, you can hear that song and the rest on the album, which is out right now. And you can catch Lindsey Stirling on tour. I know some of you are already going to do that, but she's on tour around the country through the end of the month. So give it up one more time. Lindsey Stirling, everyone.
Hey, thank you guys for coming.